When darkness fell on Nova Haven, the atmospheric shields rippled with strange purple energy as the first Veraki warships breached Nova Haven's defensive perimeter. Within minutes, the colony's evening sky transformed from the peaceful amber glow of the binary sunset to a chaotic canvas of blazing plasma trails and smoke. Colony Administrator Ilara Chen watched from the command center view screen, her normally composed features hardened into a mask of disbelief and determination. "How many?" she asked, her voice cutting through the cacophony of alarms. Marcus Wright, Nova Haven's defense coordinator, looked up from his console. His dark skin glistened with sweat under the emergency lighting. 23 vessels identified, ma'am. Configuration unknown, but their energy signatures are off the charts. Nothing we've ever encountered. Ilara's mind raced. Nova Haven was humanity's farthest outpost in the Centauri Rim, a testament to human perseverance and ingenuity. 3 generations of colonists had transformed this once barren world into a thriving community of 15,000 people. Scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, doctors. They were prepared for the harsh environment, for crop failures, even for the occasional pirate raid. They were not prepared for this. Incoming transmission, called out communications specialist Zoe Takeda, her fingers dancing across her console. Putting it on screen. The central display flickered and revealed a towering alien figure. Its body was covered in chitinous plates that seemed to shimmer between deep violet and obsidian. Multiple yellow eyes were arranged in an unsettling pattern across what must have been its face. When it spoke, mandibles clicked together, producing sounds that the translation software struggled to process. "Humans of Nova Haven," the alien finally said in synthesized English. "I am Supreme Commander Kaz Varric of the Veraki Dominion. Your colony is now under our control. Resistance is not merely futile. It is an inconvenience we will punish severely." Ilara stepped forward. "This is Administrator Ilara Chen. We are a peaceful scientific colony with no military value. Why have you attacked us?" The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your species has expanded too far, too quickly. The Dominion has observed your kind for decades. You are numerous, adaptable, and dangerously innovative. You represent a future threat that must be managed. We've had no prior contact with your people," Ilara protested. "We've done nothing to." "It is not what you have done," Kaz Varric interrupted. "It is what you might become. Surrender now, and your people will serve the Dominion. Resist, and you will be eradicated." The transmission cut abruptly as the building shuddered from a nearby impact. Dust rained from the ceiling. "They've targeted the main power grid," Marcus shouted. "Defense systems are failing." Ilara made an instant decision. "Initiate emergency protocol Omega. We need to get that distress signal out now." Zoe's hands flew across her console. "Ma'am, they're jamming our long-range communications. The quantum relay can't establish a connection. Switch to the backup transmitter in the southern mountains," Ilara ordered. "It's shielded and hardened against EMPs. We just need one burst transmission to reach the nearest relay station." Marcus looked grim. "That's over 15 kilometers from here, through open terrain." "I know." Ilara turned to the room. "I need 3 volunteers. The rest of you initiate dispersal procedures. Get as many colonists to the emergency shelters as possible." Without hesitation, Marcus stepped forward. "I'll go." "I'm coming too," said Dr. Layla Nazari, the colony's chief medical officer. "I know the mountain paths better than anyone." A third figure rose from a console in the corner. David Reeves, the quiet engineer who had helped design much of the colony's infrastructure. "You'll need someone who can operate the transmitter." "I built it." Ilara nodded gratefully. "Take the maintenance tunnels to the south exit. Avoid main thoroughfares." She handed Marcus a small data crystal. "This contains all the information we have on the attack and the Veraki. Earth needs to know what we're dealing with." As they gathered emergency supplies, Ilara recorded the distress message. This is Administrator Ilara Chen of Nova Haven Colony. We are under attack by an alien force identifying themselves as the Veraki Dominion. They have superior technology and overwhelming numbers. Civilian casualties are mounting. We have limited defensive capabilities and are implementing emergency protocols. Request immediate military assistance. I repeat, Nova Haven is under attack. The Veraki claim this is the first step in a larger campaign against human expansion. Send help, please. With the message recorded, Ilara handed the transmitter module to David. The building shook again, more violently this time. Go, she urged them. The command staff will implement defense measures here and coordinate evacuation. We'll buy you as much time as we can. Marcus gripped her shoulder briefly. We'll get the message out, Administrator. As they disappeared into the maintenance tunnel, Ilara turned back to the chaos of the command center. Status report on the invasion force. They're landing troops at multiple points throughout the colony, responded Lieutenant Alvarez, one of the few security officers they had. They're methodical, securing the spaceport, power stations, water reclamation plant. They want the infrastructure intact, Ilara realized. That means they plan to occupy, not destroy. Small comfort to the people they're rounding up, Alvarez said grimly, bringing up surveillance footage of colonists being herded at gunpoint by towering Veraki soldiers. Focus on what we can control, Ilara said firmly. Initiate the civilian shelter protocol and prepare for distributed resistance operations. If help is coming, we need to be alive to receive it. 3 days after the initial attack, Nova Haven was unrecognizable. Veraki patrol ships circled constantly overhead. Giant structures had been erected at strategic points throughout the colony, defense towers that hummed with the same strange purple energy that had heralded the invasion. Colonists were assigned to work details, repairing damage from the attack and modifying infrastructure to Veraki specifications. In a dark maintenance tunnel beneath the agricultural sector, Marcus Wright carefully checked his surroundings before slipping through a hidden panel. Inside, a makeshift resistance headquarters had been established. Layla was treating an injured colonist in one corner, while David hunched over salvaged communication equipment. Any response? Marcus asked, setting down a pack of scavenged supplies. David shook his head. Nothing definitive. The message reached the Proxima relay. I'm sure of that, but the Veraki are jamming all incoming transmissions. Ilara emerged from a side passage, looking exhausted but resolute. The important thing is that Earth knows. The defense fleet will respond. If they can, said a new voice. Jin Park, a former military pilot who had retired to Nova Haven, joined the conversation. Nova Haven is 3 months from the nearest major UEF base, even at maximum emergency velocity. They'll come, Ilara insisted, but we need to help ourselves in the meantime. What have we learned about the occupiers? Marcus activated a crude holographic display. The Veraki have established a hierarchical control system. Their command center is in what used to be the Colonial Administration building. From what we can gather, they answer to this Supreme Commander, but day-to-day operations are run by someone called the Overseer. Any weaknesses? Jin asked. They rely heavily on their technology, David offered, especially their communication network. It uses quantum principles similar to ours, but with modifications I've never seen before. Could we disrupt it? Ilara asked. David hesitated. Maybe. With the right access, I might be able to create a cascading failure in their system. But we'd need to get into their central communications hub, which is in the heart of their heaviest security. Marcus finished. The meeting was interrupted by Zoe slipping through the entrance. Everyone topside, now, she whispered urgently. The Overseer is making some kind of announcement. Mandatory attendance. In the colony's central plaza, thousands of colonists stood in rigid formation, surrounded by Veraki guards. A tall, elaborately armored figure stood on an elevated platform. The Overseer. Unlike the other Veraki, its kitten was marked with intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the dim light. Humans of Nova Haven, the overseer's voice boomed through translation devices. It has come to our attention that some among you believe rescue is imminent, that your Earth will send ships to save you. The alien made that unsettling clicking sound again. Laughter. Let me educate you on reality. A massive holographic display materialized above the plaza, showing the vast emptiness of space. This is the void between your Earth and this insignificant colony. 3 months of travel at your fastest speeds. No fleet has launched. No rescue is coming. The display changed to show images of Earth, peaceful and apparently normal. Your homeworld continues its routine activities. They have received your distress call and deemed you expendable. Ilara felt the wave of despair that passed through the assembled colonists. The overseer was deliberately crushing their hope. To demonstrate the permanence of your new reality, the overseer continued, "We will now execute 10 of your people, chosen for their suspected involvement in resistance activities." Vereki soldiers moved through the crowd, roughly pulling selected colonists toward the platform. Among them, Ilara recognized faces from the command center staff. Just as the first colonist was forced to kneel before the overseer, every light in the plaza suddenly went out. In the momentary confusion, small explosions erupted at key points around the perimeter. It wasn't much, just enough to create chaos. Now, Jin Park's voice cut through the darkness. Resistance members who had positioned themselves throughout the crowd surged forward, pulling the condemned colonists away from their captors. In the darkness and smoke, Ilara found herself next to Marcus, both helping a wounded woman toward an escape route. "This won't make them any kinder," she said grimly. "We're not looking for kindness," Marcus replied. "Just survival until help arrives." "If it arrives," Ilara couldn't help saying. As they reached the tunnel entrance, a small portable device in David's pocket suddenly emitted a soft tone. He pulled it out in disbelief. "What is it?" Layla asked. David's eyes widened as he studied the device. It's a signal, using an old Earth military frequency." He looked up, his face illuminated by the device's soft glow. "It's just 3 words. Hold. We're coming." For the first time since the invasion, genuine hope flickered in Ilara's eyes. "Then we need to be ready when they get here. And that means taking down the Veraki defense grid." As the resistance members disappeared into the tunnel network, the night sky above Nova Haven was momentarily lit by the harsh spotlights of Veraki search parties. But somewhere, beyond the reach of those lights, beyond the cruel grip of the Veraki Dominion, something was moving through the darkness of space, coming toward them with unstoppable purpose. In Earth's orbital shipyards, Admiral Sophia Hassan stood at the viewport of ESA Intrepid, watching as hundreds of warships assembled in tight formation. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever gathered, a response to the disturbing message from Nova Haven that had arrived 3 weeks ago. "Admiral," her executive officer approached with a tablet. "The Council has approved the deployment of the spearhead vessels." Sophia's eyebrows rose slightly. "The prototypes. They're not fully tested. The Council feels this situation warrants extraordinary measures. The Veraki represent an existential threat." Sophia nodded grimly. "Then it's time to show these Veraki what happens when you threaten human colonies." She pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, prepare for immediate departure. Operation Righteous Thunder is now active. We're bringing our people home." As the massive fleet began to move away from Earth, 12 sleek vessels of unusual design moved into formation at its center. The Spearhead Initiative ships, mankind's most advanced weapons platform. Their experimental drives glowed with blue-white energy as they accelerated, leading humanity's response to those who had dared to believe they could attack a human colony with impunity. The rescue of Nova Haven had begun. When Earth unleashed its fury, Admiral Sophia Hassan stood on the bridge of the EFZ Intrepid, watching the holographic display as it tracked the progress of the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Over 600 warships moved in perfect formation, carrying the combined might of a unified Earth. The response to Nova Haven's distress call had been swift and decisive, a clear message that humanity would not abandon its own. "Status report," she commanded, her voice calm despite the gravity of their mission. Commander Rajpatal stepped forward, all ships maintaining formation. "Admiral, the spearhead vessels are performing beyond expectations. Their experimental drives are actually pulling ahead of our calculated arrival window." "And the Nova Haven situation?" Raj's expression darkened. "Our last intelligence from deep space probes confirms the colony remains under Veraki control. They've established orbital defenses and a significant ground presence. The civilian population appears to be largely intact, but subjected to forced labor." Admiral Hassan nodded grimly. "They're keeping our people alive because they have use for them. Small mercies." She studied the tactical display. "What about the resistance activities we detected?" "Sporadic but persistent," Raj replied. "Our communications team has managed to establish brief, encrypted contact with someone calling themselves Phoenix. They report they're planning something significant, but wouldn't elaborate, likely concerned about security." "Smart," Hassan murmured. "The Veraki must be monitoring all communications." Lieutenant Commander Maya Ozawa approached with a data tablet. "Admiral, the spearhead commanders are requesting final mission parameters before we enter the Centauri Rim." Hassan took the tablet and quickly reviewed the information. The spearhead initiative vessels represented Earth's most closely guarded military secret. Experimental ships equipped with technology that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Many on the Defense Council had argued against deploying untested weapons, but the stakes were too high. "Tell them we're proceeding with Operation Righteous Thunder as planned. The spearhead vessels will lead the assault on the Veraki orbital defenses, while the main fleet engages their ships." She handed the tablet back. "And Maya, remind them that this isn't just about Nova Haven anymore. Intelligence suggests the Veraki see this as the first step in a larger campaign against human expansion. We're not just rescuing colonists, we're sending a message to the entire galaxy." As Maya departed to relay the orders, Admiral Hassan turned back to the viewport. The stars streaked by as the massive fleet hurtled through space toward a confrontation that would forever change humanity's standing among the stars. "They thought we wouldn't come," she said quietly. "They're about to learn how wrong they were." In the hidden resistance bunker beneath Nova Haven's agricultural sector, Ilara Chen studied the crude map David had assembled of the Veraki defense grid. 72 days had passed since the invasion. 72 days of occupation, oppression, and stubborn human defiance. "The main control node is here." David pointed to a structure that had once been the colony's primary communications array. "They've modified it extensively, but the basic architecture remains human technology at its core." Marcus leaned closer. "And you're certain you can disable it?" David's expression was a mixture of determination and apprehension. "With the right access and about 5 minutes, yes. The defense grid, their communications, orbital batteries, they're all integrated. One cascading failure could bring down the entire network." "Just long enough for our people to approach without being detected." Jin Park nodded in approval. "But getting you to that control node will be nearly impossible," Ilara finished. "The Veraki have tripled security around all critical infrastructure since our last operation." The mood in the room darkened. Their last major action, disrupting a Veraki supply convoy, had resulted in harsh reprisals. 20 colonists had been publicly executed, and work quotas had been doubled. Layla Nazari, who had been tending to an injured resistance fighter, joined the conversation. "We received another transmission on the emergency frequency." She held up a small receiver. "Just 2 words this time. 14 days. A current of nervous energy passed through the assembled resistance members. After months of occupation, the prospect of rescue still seemed almost too fragile to believe in. If Earth forces are truly 2 weeks out, we need to be ready," Ilara said firmly. That means disabling the defense grid before they arrive. Otherwise, they'll be flying into a killing zone. I might have a solution. Zo Takeda spoke up. The communications specialist had been working tirelessly to intercept and decode Veraki transmissions. Tomorrow marks some kind of Veraki ceremonial observance. The overseer has ordered a gathering of all high-ranking officers at the central command post. Security around peripheral installations will be reduced, including the defense grid control node. Marcus asked. Zo nodded. According to the duty roster I intercepted, they're cutting personnel by half for the 6-hour ceremony. Half is still more than we can handle in a frontal assault, Jin pointed out. We don't assault, Ilara said, a plan forming in her mind. We infiltrate. She turned to David. How small can you make your sabotage package? The engineer considered. With some modifications, I could get it down to something that would fit in a maintenance droid. Perfect. Ilara activated a holographic display showing the layout of the colony's original maintenance systems. The Veraki have been using our automated maintenance units to service their installations. If we can capture one, reprogram it, and load it with David's sabotage package, it could walk right into the control node without raising alarms. Marcus finished, eyes widening. Exactly, Ilara confirmed. But we'll need a distraction to capture a droid and give it time to complete its mission. Jin Park's face hardened with resolve. Leave the distraction to me. I've been saving something special for our purple friends. The next day, as the alien sun rose over Nova Haven, the Veraki prepared for their ceremonial gathering. In the agricultural sector, a maintenance droid rolled methodically through its programmed route, servicing environmental systems. As it passed behind a hydroponics facility, quick hands pulled it into a concealed service entrance. 13 days later, the mood in the resistance bunker was tense. Reports from their scattered operatives indicated the Veraki were preparing for something significant. Increased patrols, new weapons being deployed to orbital platforms, unusual communication activity. They know, Marcus concluded after reviewing the intelligence. Somehow, they know something's coming. Ilara studied the reports. Or they suspect. Either way, we stick to the plan. Tomorrow at dawn, we activate the sabotage package. Their meeting was interrupted as Zo burst into the room, her face pale. They found us, she gasped. A patrol discovered one of our supply caches. They're conducting sweeps of the entire sector. The implications were immediate and devastating. If the Veraki found their headquarters before they could activate the sabotage package, we need to move, Ilara decided. Gather only essential equipment. We relocate to backup Site 3. As they hurriedly packed critical supplies, a distant explosion shook dust from the ceiling. Then another, closer. They're not just searching, Jin realized. They're using seismic charges to collapse the tunnel network. The third explosion, closer still, knocked several of them off their feet. Part of the ceiling gave way, blocking their primary exit route. Secondary exit, Ilara ordered, helping Lila to her feet. Move. They had barely made it halfway to the emergency exit when the bunker's outer door burst inward. Veraki soldiers poured through, weapons raised. Surrender, humans, the lead soldier demanded through its translator. Marcus and Jin moved to defensive positions, raising the few weapons they had. Ilara stepped between them. Hold, she said quietly. We can't win this fight. The resistance members were roughly disarmed and herded through the colony to the central plaza. There, the overseer waited, flanked by Supreme Commander Kazvarek and dozens of heavily armed guards. Administrator Chen, the overseer's translated voice, contained something like satisfaction. How disappointing to discover you at the center of this futile resistance. Ilara stood straight, facing her captor without visible fear. What happens to me doesn't matter. What matters is that humanity will never submit to conquest. Bold words from someone whose species is about to learn a harsh lesson. Kazvarek interjected. We have detected unusual subspace disturbances approaching this system. Your people have indeed sent ships, as you hoped. Murmurs spread through the assembled colonists. hope warred with fear on their faces. "They will arrive," the Supreme Commander continued, "to find nothing but wreckage in a painful demonstration of Veraki power." He gestured to the sky, where faint points of light could be seen even in daylight, the orbital defense platforms powering up. But first, the Overseer announced, "We will eliminate the Resistance leadership as a warning to those who would defy the Dominion." Guards forced Ilara and the other captured Resistance members to their knees. The Overseer raised a ceremonial weapon. "Any final words, Administrator?" it asked mockingly. Ilara glanced at David, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. The sabotage droid was still in place, waiting for activation. She just needed to buy a little more time. "You misunderstand humans," she said clearly, raising her voice so all could hear. "We don't fear death when it comes in defense of freedom. Every one of us you kill becomes a symbol, a rallying cry. You can't extinguish hope with executions." The Overseer clicked its mandibles in what might have been amusement. "An interesting theory. Let us test it." It raised the weapon and aimed at Ilara's head. At that moment, David pressed a concealed device in his palm. Throughout the colony, systems began to fail as the dormant sabotage package activated. The plaza's lights flickered and died. Above, the faint points of light that marked the orbital platforms winked out one by one. The Overseer lowered its weapon, suddenly alert to the chaos erupting through its communication channels. "What is happening?" it demanded. Ilara smiled grimly. "That would be humanity's answer to your occupation." In the darkness of space beyond Nova Haven's outermost orbit, Admiral Hassan watched as the tactical display updated. "Defense grid is down," Commander Raj reported. "Outer and inner planetary defenses offline. Veraki ships are in disarray. Their communications appear compromised." Hassan's eyes narrowed. "The Resistance came through. Signal the fleet, full advance. Battle formation Delta. The spearhead vessels will take point." She straightened her uniform. "Let's show these Veraki what happens when you threaten human lives." The massive fleet surged forward, dropping out of FTL in a carefully choreographed sequence that put them inside the Veraki defensive perimeter. On the bridge of the Intrepid, the tactical officer called out, "Veraki vessels moving to intercept." 19 confirmed. "Targeting solutions acquired," Weapons Officer Chen reported. "All ships in position." Admiral Hassan stood at the center of the bridge, her voice unwavering. "All vessels, weapons free. Reclaim Nova Haven." In the colony plaza, the assembled colonists gasped as the sky suddenly filled with streaking lights, the unmistakable signature of ships entering atmosphere. The Veraki forces looked upward in confusion as their communications failed and orbital support vanished. Supreme Commander Kaz Varric snarled orders to his subordinates. "Re-establish control of the orbital batteries. Launch all remaining ships. We will not lose this colony." Before the orders could be carried out, the sky erupted with blue-white fire. Human ships, hundreds of them, descended through the atmosphere. Smaller craft detached from larger vessels, screaming toward the colony. "Combat dropships," Jin whispered, recognition and fierce joy in his voice. "That's the 107th Marine Expeditionary Unit." The Veraki guards began firing wildly at the approaching human forces, momentarily forgetting their prisoners. Marcus seized the opportunity, throwing himself at the nearest guard and wrestling away its weapon. Around him, other Resistance members followed suit, and chaos erupted in the plaza. Ilara rolled away from her executioner, finding cover behind a fallen piece of debris. Across the plaza, colonists who had been watching in silent fear now joined the fight, overwhelmed by the sudden hope of rescue. The first dropships landed at the perimeter of the plaza, ramps slamming down to disgorge fully armed human Marines. They moved with practiced precision, securing positions and laying down covering fire for the colonists. Above the colony, the space battle unfolded with stunning ferocity. The Veraki ships, caught unprepared by the defense grid's failure, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. The spearhead vessels proved their worth, their advanced weapon systems cutting through Veraki shields with unprecedented effectiveness. On the ground, a Marine captain approached Ilara as she coordinated the colonists' efforts to secure buildings around the plaza. "Administrator Chen," he asked, his helmet visor lifting. "Captain Miguel Sanchez, Earth Defense Force 107th. Looks like we arrived just in time." Ilara nodded, emotion threatening to overwhelm her professional demeanor. "Your timing is impeccable, Captain. But the fight isn't over. The Veraki Supreme Commander is somewhere in the colony complex." "We'll find him," Sanchez assured her. "Admiral Hassan sends her regards and says to tell you that Earth keeps its promises." The battle for Nova Haven raged for 6 hours before the last Veraki stronghold fell. Supreme Commander Kazvarek was captured attempting to reach an escape vessel. The Overseer died fighting, taking 3 human Marines with it. In orbit, Admiral Hassan directed the final phases of the operation as the remnants of the Veraki fleet scattered, pursued by Earth vessels ensuring none escaped to warn their homeworld. 3 days later, as Nova Haven began the long process of rebuilding, Hassan's shuttle landed in the colony's battered but functional spaceport. Ilara Chen waited to greet her, flanked by the surviving resistance leaders. The 2 women regarded each other for a moment before Hassan extended her hand. "Administrator, on behalf of Earth and all her colonies, I salute your courage." Ilara shook the offered hand. "We just had to hold out until you arrived, Admiral. The credit belongs to everyone who fought, here and throughout the fleet." "Indeed." Hassan's expression grew serious. "The Defense Council has reviewed the intelligence you gathered on the Veraki. They were planning a systematic campaign against human expansion. Nova Haven was just the beginning." "And now?" Ilara asked. "Now they've learned what happens when you threaten humanity." Hassan gestured to where the 12 spearhead vessels held position in low orbit, visible as bright stars even in daylight. "The fleet will remain here while Nova Haven rebuilds. We're establishing this as a forward military base, the tip of humanity's spear in this sector." Ilara nodded, understanding the implications. Nova Haven would never be just a scientific outpost again. It had become something else, a symbol of humanity's determination to defend its own, no matter the distance or the odds.